Have you ever wondered why the kindest people often become the strongest after they've been hurt? Most people believe that an empath's greatest quality is their compassion. But what many fail to understand is that beneath that compassion lies a quiet strength that only reveals itself when it has been pushed too far. The moment someone believes they have finally broken an empath is often the very moment they lose them forever. And by the time they realize what they've done, the damage cannot always be undone. Empaths have long fascinated psychologists and researchers who study emotional intelligence and human behavior. While the word empath is often surrounded by myths and exaggerations, there is a real psychological foundation behind many empathic traits. People with high emotional sensitivity often notice subtle changes in tone, body language, and emotional atmosphere that others completely miss. They are usually the first to comfort someone in pain, the last to give up on a relationship, and the ones who continue offering understanding even when they receive very little in return. This incredible ability to care deeply is exactly why so many people misunderstand them. Their patience is mistaken for weakness. Their forgiveness is confused with endless tolerance. Their silence is seen as acceptance. But these assumptions hide an important truth that remains invisible until it is too late. Every act of betrayal, every broken promise, every moment of disrespect leaves an impression. Unlike loud confrontations that announce a relationship is falling apart, an empath often carries their disappointment quietly. They continue hoping things will improve, while slowly realizing that their kindness is being taken for granted. What makes this even more surprising is that an empath rarely reaches their limit overnight. It happens gradually, almost invisibly. Those around them may believe everything is fine, because the empath continues smiling, listening, and supporting everyone else. Yet beneath that calm exterior, something profound is changing. Their trust begins to fade. Their emotional energy starts to withdraw, and once that inner shift is complete, it is incredibly difficult to reverse. History is filled with stories of people whose compassion was mistaken for weakness until they finally chose themselves, time and again. Human behavior has shown that genuine kindness is often appreciated only after it disappears. People frequently overlook those who consistently give, assuming they will always remain available. But when that source of patience and understanding is gone, its true value suddenly becomes impossible to ignore. In this video, you'll discover what an empath truly is, why their quiet nature is so often misunderstood, and what really happens when someone keeps pushing an empath beyond their limits. You'll learn why breaking an empath creates consequences that many people never expect, the hidden emotional process that leads to their transformation, and the powerful lessons everyone should understand before it's too late. Make sure you stay with us until the very end, because the final lesson may completely change the way you view empathy, relationships, and emotional strength. Welcome to Dr. Empath Psychology Hub, where we explore the hidden depths of human emotions, relationships, and personal growth. If you're ready to uncover the psychology behind empathy and discover insights that can transform the way you understand yourself and others, subscribe to our channel and join our growing community. Let's begin. An empath rarely reaches their breaking point because of a single argument or one painful experience. Instead, the process unfolds so slowly that even they may not realize how much they have changed. It often begins with small disappointments that seem easy to forgive. A broken promise here, an insensitive comment there, or another moment when their feelings are dismissed. Because empaths naturally try to understand the reasons behind people's behavior, they often give the benefit of the doubt instead of reacting immediately. They convince themselves that everyone makes mistakes and that patience will eventually strengthen the relationship. This willingness to understand others, however, can make them vulnerable to repeated betrayal and manipulation. Some people begin to rely on the empath's forgiving nature, assuming they will always be given another chance. Apologies become empty words, respect slowly disappears, and emotional support starts flowing in only one direction. The empath continues giving their time, energy, and compassion while receiving very little in return. They become the person everyone turns to during difficult moments. Yet when they need comfort themselves, they often find no one standing beside them. Emotional neglect leaves some of the deepest scars because it is rarely obvious. It can look like constantly feeling unheard, having achievements ignored, or watching personal needs pushed aside to satisfy everyone else's expectations. Since empaths are naturally attentive to other people's emotions, they frequently place their own needs at the bottom of the list. Over time, this creates a silent imbalance that slowly drains their emotional strength. What many people fail to recognize is that an empath's tolerance does not come from weakness. It comes from hope. They genuinely believe people can change, relationships can heal, and kindness can inspire kindness in return. They stay longer because they remember the good moments. They forgive because they value connection over conflict. They keep trying because walking away feels like giving up on someone they once believed in. But with every repeated disappointment, another layer of trust quietly disappears, even if nothing about their calm exterior seems to have changed. The silent breaking point is one of the most misunderstood moments in an empath's journey because it rarely arrives with anger, loud arguments, or dramatic goodbyes. Instead, it begins deep within, where countless disappointments finally outweigh hope. After spending so much time trying to repair what is broken, the empath gradually realizes that no amount of kindness can change someone who has no desire to change. This realization does not happen overnight. It grows quietly until one day, something inside simply refuses to carry the emotional burden any longer. From the outside, very little may seem different at first. The empath still speaks politely, remains respectful, and avoids unnecessary conflict. Yet beneath that calm behavior, an important shift has already taken place. They stop expecting apologies that never come. They stop making excuses for repeated hurtful behavior. Conversations become shorter, emotional investment fades, and the desire to fix every problem slowly disappears. The energy they once devoted to saving the relationship begins turning inward instead. Unfortunately, these warning signs are often ignored because they are much quieter than expressions of anger. Many people assume everything is fine simply because the empath is no longer complaining. They mistake silence for forgiveness and emotional distance for temporary stress. In reality, the empath has already started protecting their peace. They no longer argue over the same issues because they have accepted that their words are no longer being heard. Instead of chasing attention or understanding, they begin observing people's actions rather than believing their promises. As this emotional disconnection deepens, the empath becomes more selective about where their time, trust, and compassion are invested. They stop forcing conversations that feel one-sided and become comfortable with letting silence replace endless explanations. The warmth they once offered so freely is now reserved for people who show genuine respect, honesty, and appreciation. Those who continue assuming the empath will always remain available often fail to recognize what is happening until they suddenly discover that the connection they took for granted has already slipped quietly beyond their reach. Once an empath decides to walk away, the change is often far quieter than people expect. There are no dramatic speeches, no endless attempts to prove a point, and no desperate efforts to make someone understand what they have lost. The person who once fought to keep the relationship alive suddenly becomes still. This silence is not an act of revenge or emotional punishment. It is the result of realizing that genuine care cannot survive where respect is repeatedly absent. The empath understands that continuing to chase someone who refuses to value them only creates more pain, so they choose something they may have neglected for a long time: their own peace. One of the first changes is that they stop chasing people who have already shown where their priorities lie. They no longer send repeated messages hoping for a response or constantly reach out to repair situations they did not create. The need for endless explanations also begins to disappear. After spending so much time expressing their feelings without being heard, they recognize that understanding cannot be forced. Instead of trying to convince others of their worth, they allow actions to speak louder than words. As they step away from unhealthy relationships, the emotional energy that was once spent carrying other people's burdens begins returning to them. They start paying attention to their own thoughts, emotions, and goals. Activities that once seemed impossible because they were always focused on someone else suddenly become meaningful again. They rebuild routines that support their well-being, strengthen their boundaries, and become more intentional about the people they allow into their lives. This transformation is often mistaken for coldness by those who only knew the empath as someone who always gave without limits. In reality, the empath has not lost their compassion. They have simply learned that kindness should never require sacrifice self-respect. They become more careful about who earns their trust, more confident in saying no without guilt, and more willing to walk away from situations that drain their emotional health. The same empathy that once flowed freely toward everyone is now balanced with wisdom, allowing them to care deeply without losing themselves in the process. The true value of an empath is rarely recognized while they are still giving everything they have. As long as they continue listening, forgiving, supporting, and showing up no matter what, many people begin to see their presence as something permanent. Their kindness becomes expected instead of appreciated. The thoughtful messages, patient understanding, and quiet sacrifices slowly fade into the background because they have become part of everyday life. It is only when that steady source of compassion disappears that its importance becomes impossible to ignore. After an empath walks away, many people begin noticing the silence they once overlooked. There is no longer someone checking on them during difficult times or offering encouragement without expecting anything in return. The emotional support they relied on so naturally is suddenly gone. Simple moments that once felt ordinary begin carrying unexpected weight. They remember the conversations where the empath listened without judgment, the loyalty they showed even during conflict, and the countless times they chose understanding over criticism. These memories often arrive too late, after the empath has already accepted that the relationship could no longer grow in a healthy direction. For many, regret grows because they finally recognize that genuine empathy cannot be replaced easily. They may meet other people, but few offer the same depth of patience, emotional awareness, and unconditional encouragement. The qualities they once ignored become the very qualities they begin searching for in others, only to realize how rare they truly are. Rebuilding trust, however, is far more difficult than offering an apology. By the time an empath has truly moved on, they have usually spent a long period reflecting on everything that happened. Their decision was not made in a single emotional moment, but through repeated experiences that slowly reshaped their perspective. Once they have accepted that someone consistently ignored their feelings or took their kindness for granted, they become much more cautious about reopening that door. If another chance is ever considered, it is no longer based on promises alone. The empath pays close attention to consistent actions, honesty, and genuine effort over time. They have learned that words are easy to speak, but lasting change is revealed through behavior. The trust that once came so freely is now protected with wisdom, making it one of the hardest things to earn back once it has been lost. Every relationship leaves us with a lesson, but some lessons arrive only after something valuable has been lost. The story of an empath is not about revenge, winning, or proving anyone wrong. It is about recognizing that genuine kindness should never be mistaken for weakness, and that the people who quietly stand beside us through life's hardest moments deserve the same care and respect they so freely give to others. Empaths remind us that compassion is one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. They listen when others refuse to hear, they support when others walk away, and they continue believing in people long after many would have given up. But even the kindest heart has limits. When empathy is met with repeated betrayal, manipulation, neglect, or disrespect, it eventually transforms into healthy boundaries. Choosing peace over constant pain is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect. The most important lesson is one that applies to every relationship. Never assume that someone's patience is endless, or that their loyalty guarantees they will always stay. Appreciate the people who genuinely care about you while they are still part of your life. Express gratitude, communicate honestly, and treat kindness as the rare gift it truly is. Relationships grow stronger through mutual respect, trust, and consistent effort, not through taking someone's love and support for granted. If you are an empath, remember that protecting your peace does not mean you have stopped caring. It means you have learned that your compassion deserves to exist alongside healthy boundaries. And if someone in your life has shown you unwavering kindness, don't wait until their silence teaches you the value of their presence. Choose appreciation today instead of regret tomorrow. Thank you for watching. If this video gave you a new perspective on empathy, relationships, and emotional strength, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Dr. Empath Psychology Hub. Your support helps us create more thoughtful content that explores the hidden depths of human psychology and personal growth. Until next time, take care of your heart, respect the hearts of others, and never underestimate the quiet strength of genuine kindness.